Wilson Miles from Black Film and TV. Hello, folks. How are you?
Hey,
Good. How
Wilson.
are you, Wilson?
I always feel weird when I'm looking at a couple, but they're on separate screens, and I'm like, why can't they be together? But Audra, you're the center of it all. What did it take to convince you to do this type of genre series?
It didn't take much for a couple of reasons. One is because it's not like we were doing anything at the time anyway. Everything was shut down. And when I was approached with this very specific way about how the show was going to be produced and how all these like extraordinary sort of safety measures were going to be put into place, I was intrigued. I was approached by Robert and Michelle King there and Brooke Kennedy, and they're my bosses anyway. They are who I've been working with for the past 4 years. And I love the characters they draw. I love their way of looking at the world, and I love their way of commenting on the world. So for me, I dove in. I just thought, well, it'll be interesting. I can't think of another time that anyone's going to ask me to do, a kind of a genre like this. I just turned 50. It was like, heck yeah, I'm in.
Now, do they say this only works if Will's involved?
They didn't say that, but they said, since you guys are married and we have to do all of this, are you still here? Everybody's still here. Okay. And since we have to do all this in a COVID safety way, it was just like, that's a bonus. Are you kidding? And I get to work with my husband. This is great. So it was a win-win for me.
And Will, come on, how great is it to work with Audra on screen? We get to see you on TV.
I mean, she's all right. No, it was amazing. We'd worked on stage together a few times, but never in front of the camera before. So it was really cool to get to go to work with my wife and get to kiss my wife. And we played lovers on the show, kind of having an affair. So it was kind of, I don't know. What was it for you, babe? A little extra spice, a little something.
A little extra spice. I mean, considering that we had, we were still, quarantining at the time with our 4-year-old, we would also come home, with like sort of, Will would come home with like zombie looking things on, and our daughter would be fascinated. Like, what's that? We actually even gave her some zombie tattoos at one point. So, I mean, it was a family affair.
Now, Will, you have to go the extra mile because you have to act it all out. Have you guys, both of you, been a fan of the zombie genre, whether it be on film or TV?
I love that stuff. Yeah. Zombieland is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I feel like tonally this TV show is kind of similar to that movie, but I've always dug it. So it was really cool for me to get to do some zombie stuff.
And now, did you guys shoot out of your own home, or did you have to go somewhere and shoot this?
We shot in a brownstone in Manhattan, and it was, how many floors was it, babe? 5 floors?
5 or 6?
Yeah, and the production took over the whole thing so that everybody could be on a specific floor and still be very safe. So even though we were all shooting in this same brownstone, I never saw the crew. The only person I would ever see besides Will would be the director, who was being tested every day, as well as us for COVID, and that was behind a mask. But we did our own makeup, we did our own hair, we put our own microphones on ourselves. The crew would come in and set up the shots, and then they would go all the way up to the 5th floor, and then we would come to the stage. So no one ever crossed paths with anyone that they weren't in a bubble with. So it was a very, very, very safe way of working. So we felt really comfortable.
And before we run out of time, how excited are you that Broadway gets to come back at 100%? Not 25, not 50, but at 100%.
It's kind of the only way to do it, That's the magic of a Broadway house, is coming together with a full group of people and having that energy exchange. And if we had to come back at 50% or 25%, it just would have felt not at the level of that magic that Broadway can be. So we're thrilled.
Yeah, for everybody to get back to work is so important, to get our industry, living and breathing again.
What's going to be, obviously, outside of you guys and the work that you guys have done elsewhere, to sell the scene, the bite? It's another genre of film, but we're going to get a whole brand new audience because of this cast. So what's the sell saying, the bite during the pandemic era?
It's not what you expect from, a pandemic based show. It's not what you're expecting. You know, it's one of those things that when I saw the first 10-minute pilot that we shot of this before it became a series, I had been in it and I was stunned. I was laughing at, you know, in a way, and this is like sort of crazy release, which I think we could all use given the darkness in which we've been living. I was terrified. I was thrilled. I was riveted. And I was like, okay, if this is how I'm reacting to it and I'm in it and I know what's coming next, I think some people might get a thrill out of it and a bit of a release. And at the same time, it still does treat what's happening in the world in I think a respectful way, but also just saying, look, it's a crazy time we're living in, and this is something that could happen. So yeah, I was thrilled by it. I had a ball doing it, and I've had a ball watching them.
Yeah, character-wise, Will has to be lucky. Will's character has to be lucky that there was love in between that, because I've seen other shows where normally he would die. right after he starts shaking around, you're like, oh, he got to go. You know, but you made it through. It's a good series. It's good talking to you guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Wilson.
Bye, Wilson.